What's your take on the markets right now?
Momentum, and momentum is really tough to fight, especially when you look at where it's coming from. If you look at any of the moving averages, talk to our technical analyst friends like Jay Woods, the 5-day, the 50-day, the 200-day, all averages above their normal trending averages, and that means there's momentum. Hard to find a bearish case there, especially when companies are posting some really strong earnings. You have this split in the market of companies being affected by oil prices, by commodity prices, by potentially subdued consumer spending, and then you have the tech companies, the chip companies, and the scalers. They are spending like crazy and stacking profits.
Let's get your scorecard on earnings so far. They've been strong overall. You had monster quarterly profits for Alphabet, Google, Amazon did well. You know, Meta, there was some strength, but people are like, hey, where are we going from here?
Yeah.
What are you paying attention to under the hood?
Margin expansion. 7 out of the 11 S&P 500 sectors reporting net profit margin expansion. What are we paying for as investors? Net profit margin expansion. We are paying for profits, especially future profits. And if it looks like they're going to keep coming our way like they do from this earnings season so far, then that's what you want. And that's exactly what investors are focused on. There was a period of time there where they said, all these hyperscalers are paying too much, they're spending too much, where are the profits going to come from? Just look at that, net profit margin expansion, per share profit growth for the S&P 500, 27%. That's the highest since the fourth quarter of 2021 when we were coming out of the pandemic. You don't see that normally, and that's why we're seeing the strength in the market.
But for not everyone is treated equal. For instance, Microsoft, yes, we've seen a little bit of recovery, but the market doesn't seem like it's as much of a fan of its spending. Right. Even with strength and profit.
Right, because software stocks and software companies are really under pressure right now. And if you look at any of the industries that are going to be impacted by AI, it's going to be software first, because guess what? Enterprises, big companies, pay licenses per seat. Now, if the AI solution that you have within your company can do that better, you don't need 500 seats. You need 1 or 2 clients there. And that's why you're seeing the software companies under pressure. The chip companies can't make enough chips and can't make them fast enough. The rally in the chip sector in April, crazy. Philadelphia Semiconductor Index up 38%. Intel more than doubled. SanDisk up 75% in just that month. Micron up 52%. I don't know. If you own chips, you're really happy right
now. The memory, I have been surprised because they had so much momentum already coming into the year. Seagate first up with their earnings before the rest, and then SanDisk and Western Digital. You wondered, at least myself, did they still have room to run? And it's like this massive momentum still. But they can turn on a dime.
Yeah, they can turn on a dime, and all of a sudden investors can decide, by and large, that, wait, we don't need this many chips. But if you talk to the industry, if you talk to the big companies trying to get as much compute, and that's the word they like to use, as possible, they can't spend enough, and they'd rather go bankrupt than lose this battle for who's going to control the next phase of whatever AI is going to be, the client AI, the agentic AI. So the spending is there, the profits are there, the profits are in the semiconductor companies and a lot of the peripheral hardware companies around this build out. They're still there, and they're going to be there for the next several years, and that's why this market, especially the NASDAQ and especially the tech sector and the AI part of the S&P 500, screaming to all-time highs.
So the view that I've heard from different strategists and market experts is there is still room to run in this space, whether we're talking about memory or just chips overall. Do you think that's a warranted viewpoint?
Yeah, well, either that, or you can say, I don't think there's more room to run. Watch these stocks tack on another 25% and say, oh, I missed yet another big rally for the chip stocks. It's hard to get out of the way of momentum. If you want to get out of the way, you just missed one of the greatest Aprils probably in history, especially for this sector. So yeah, as long as these companies are saying they're going to continue to spend, and as long as these companies that I just mentioned, Intel, for example, Micron, for example, SanDisk, for example, are putting up profits like they are and the stocks are appreciating like they are, get out of the way and you're going to miss a huge rally in this sector again and wonder where you were when everybody else was spending money and making money.
Let's talk a little bit more about Intel. Part of that has to do with this relationship with the White House.
A lot has to do with it. Proximity to power, Diane. We talked about it at the beginning of this year. We talked about it last year. If you are close to power, you are doing very well right now, except for the companies that either fall on the wrong side of that or they wind up in the middle of a tariff or a Middle East commodity.
So, Dan, what do you think? How are you looking at this market right now?
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised it rallied. I put out a note on March 31st saying history may not repeat itself, but it often does rhyme. And from a big picture standpoint, if you go back to 1997 and 98, you were in year 3 and 4 of the internet infrastructure build out. And back then you had some really severe macro scares, and that you had a currency crisis in 1997. And then in 1998, you had the Russian bond default. And those are both structural issues. But after an 11% drawdown in 1997 intra-year, and then it was 19% in 1998, the S&P finished the years up 31 and 27% because you had that backdrop of that internet infrastructure build out. So if you fast forward to today, you obviously have a macro scare following the Iran situation. Oil has surged, but this is actually a lot easier to deal with because you can reverse this with a tweet and decide, we're done. And you still have this massive internet infrastructure build out behind you, which is in, AI build out, which is going on right now, which is in year 4. And so I think you're going to see a strong rest of the year. And, the market may be overbought near term, but I think you'll end the year higher than where you are today.
Okay, so the S&P 500 is up about 6% year to date, not quite. What sort of returns could we expect to see?
I mean, I don't know. Like, anybody who's telling you they know the answer is crazy. But what I would tell you is this. The two biggest drivers of the market since the end of 2022, when we had this thing called ChatGPT show up, has been easy money, right? The Fed has been very accommodative or cutting, and it's been AI. Well, if you look at the AI part of that, last week you had the 3 big hyperscalers plus Meta report. And going into that, or starting the year, people thought, AI CapEx will be up about 30%. Then all these companies reported in late January, and then that number moved from 30 to 60%. Last week, they obviously reported their March quarters, and that moved from 60% growth to now 70% growth. So that's still continuing to ramp. The other thing you have is Kevin Warsh is going to probably get confirmed, right? And he's going to start in the middle of May. He's the new Fed chair. And he was picked because he wants to cut rates. And so those two twin engines that have been really powering this market since the end of 2022 are certainly ramping up right now. And so, I think you can see some pretty solid returns, and you're going to have to pick stocks, obviously. And the market's getting more discerning, right? We saw that last week where you had a Google up 10%, but then you had a Meta down 9% in reaction to earnings. And so I think you're going to have to pick the right names, but I see some pretty good returns through year end.
I want to dig into tech and picking the right names in just a second, but you mentioned it's really easy money and AI that's driving this market higher. At these levels, though, what has to go right for the S&P 500 to keep moving higher?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's anything special. It's just what's been going on, which is you have really strong earnings growth, and that's continuing. And AI is obviously a powerful driver of the market when you look at it and say, wow, you've got 5 companies out there that are spending, tremendous amounts of money, close to 800 billion this year. And that by itself is driving GDP growth. And you're starting to see an acceleration in the growth rates for a lot of these companies. And so I think it's just continuing what you're seeing already. There's nothing extra special to it. The big extra special is really a new Fed governor in the middle of May. And he's already told you that his desire is to move rates lower. He's focusing on trimmed mean PCE, which is at 2.3% versus core PCE, which is what the Fed's focused at, which is at 3. And so he's already creating the situation of wanting to try to get rates lower. And that's really powerful for the market, right? We've seen that when the Fed was cutting rates, when the Fed stopped cutting rates. And, it looks like they want to try to do that again. At least the chairman does. And that's powerful combined with AI. So I don't think there's anything new. It's just, you just keep doing what.
Talk about the week ahead. We've got some big names reporting this week. AMD, Palantir. What's on your radar?
Yeah, Palantir first and foremost. That's one of the most widely held stocks by retail investors. That is the classic example of proximity to power. That stock did phenomenally well last year, but you don't know whether Alex Karp and the president are still friends. Sometimes you have to look at those conferences that the White House puts together and see who's sitting where.
Yes.
That's a pretty good indicator of what stocks are going to do pretty well. So, are there still on friendly terms with the White House? Are the threats from Anthropic real, or is this just another one of those, oh, AI is going to kill your business type thing? I'm watching that closely. I think we get that later today. Also, we got the big fast food, convenient food, whatever you want to call it, companies reporting. QSR owns Popeyes and Burger King. We got McDonald's reporting later this week. Consumer still strong. Are we spending, or is the order size, and I like to watch that, how much is the receipt per customer? Is that going up or down? If it's going down, not a good sign for these companies, especially at a time of low consumer sentiment. And then I'm looking at Disney. Disney's got a lot to prove here, especially with the new CEO, Josh D'Amaro, stepping in. What is he going to do to fix what is a great company, but a terrible stock?
What's been interesting to see is how the consumer is holding up. Like you had Chipotle recently, Starbucks recently as well. And Starbucks, part of that, it's like, that back to Starbucks is finally starting to work there. So it'll be interesting to see how the quick service restaurants actually perform, relatively speaking. Is the value still there to bring consumers in? And is it worth it, especially when we think about elevated oil prices?
Yeah, they're facing high commodity prices. That's diesel, that's the transport of all their food. They're facing higher food input costs, and they're facing a stretched consumer. Are we going to continue to get the Happy Meal and the Big Mac with fries, or are we cutting that back a little bit or going somewhere else? These companies typically do well in times of economic stress for consumers, but right now it doesn't feel like that's happening right now. We love to complain as consumers. We still keep on spending. Are we going to keep spending at these places, especially these kind of staples that people go to when budgets are tight? And when they go there, do they spend as much as they used to, or are they bringing that spend down a little bit, maybe keeping the
As we think about choosing winners, though, tech led in April, do you expect that leadership to hold and continue, or do you expect to see the market broaden out from here?
Well, remember, tech is actually one of the areas that's actually somewhat underperformed, right? If you look at the Magnificent Seven, year to date, they're up about 2%. The S&P's up 6%. The Russell's up 13%. So now within that, obviously, it's a very mixed bag of how each of these names have performed. But because the Magnificent Seven are only up 2% year to date, but the earnings estimates for different ones have been going up, you have a very good valuation metric for some of these names, and the momentum should just continue to keep building, because agentic AI is the new thing this year for the internet infrastructure build out. So I'm sure your viewers have heard about OpenClaw, which got formalized at the end of January, right? That's not that many months ago. Since that's come out, this whole thing of agentic AI has taken off, where before, let's say last year, it was all about you asked your chatbot a question, it gave you an answer back. Now, what people are able to do is say, hey, go to the street, pull this type of data. Go to the Federal Reserve website, pull this other data. Go ahead and create an Excel spreadsheet for me. Well, that takes a lot more tokens. And so what you've seen is token generation since OpenClaw got formalized over the next 2 months. It went up about 100+%. In the prior 2 months, it was up about 20%. And so you're seeing this big uplift driven by agentic. And so that should power you for at least another year within the whole AI food chain. And to your question on tech, that's where you're going to get the returns, is sort of up and down that food chain of names associated with that.
But to your point, we've seen a mixed Mag 7 performance. Meta, Microsoft, and Tesla are all lower year to date. Alphabet, of course, is the big winner. Amazon, a big winner as well. If AI monetization is showing up, and if agentic AI will continue this rally momentum, why aren't all of those names higher? What's the market not believing yet in some of these names?
Well, the market's acting very rationally. The names that are down should be down. So if we get into results last week, so what people are concerned about is you're spending all this money, but are you getting any return from it? Are your estimates going up? So if you think about what happened last week, Google beat revenues and EPS for the quarter, but the forward numbers went up as well, and they went up very nicely. and you saw acceleration for Google Cloud from 48% year over year revenue growth in the December quarter to 63% in the March quarter. And so the stock, the next day was up about 10%, finished the week up 12%. So that made a lot of sense. So even though their CapEx goes up, so do the revenues and EPS going forward. If you look at AWS, their revenues went from 24% growth in December to 28% growth in March. So it went up a little bit. They maintained their CapEx though, they didn't raise it. Operating profit guidance for the March quarter went down a touch, but the stock, did what you'd expect in that situation where it stayed roughly flattish. But you did see that acceleration from AWS from 24 to 28. Now, if you get to Azure for Microsoft, that only accelerated from 38 to 39, but they guided below the street for revenues for the June quarter while the CapEx number went up. So CapEx goes up, but your earnings go down. The stock should have been down. And then for Meta, people are worried because they raised their CapEx, they guided in line for revenues. But if they're overspending, unlike the prior three that we just talked about, they don't have a public cloud. So there's no way for them to say, okay, well, we're spending all this money, but if we overspend, we can sell to all these other customers. They don't have that capability. The other guys do. And so that stock got hit the hardest, and it should have. And so that's kind of how you can break this down. So that's why I said, again, you have to go back to stock picking. This isn't like the first 2 years of this AI build out where you could basically buy anything and it would go up. Now people are saying, well, who can afford to spend? Who's getting return on that investment when they raise their CapEx? And the stocks are responding the way they should, which is why I said you have to kind of pick stocks underneath this.